Well, in many ways, it was a good job we had 3 days off after the third test, because we needed the extra time just to catch our breath after England were beaten inside 2 days. Many talking points emanated from that. But I tell you what, Harmy, one thing that we cannot deny is that there was always going to be massive interest, as there always is, before a test match between these two great cricketing nations. But after that third test, you know what? More and more people, I think, are going to be tuning in earlier and earlier to listen to the action, because, you know, all the indications are that we're going to have more of the same.
Absolutely, Manners. I think we're going to have... I'm intrigued to see what the England team's going to be, first and foremost, and intrigued to see the surface that we're going to play on. I'd imagine what all the euphoria, hullabaloo and criticism, or whether it was a good pitch, a bad pitch, all the talking points, there was more entertainment off the field than there was on the field, and that's saying something when you're talking about, you know, whose opinion was about the surface. I think this one will be, yes, it'll spin, but I think it might be held together for that little bit longer than 20 minutes. I think it might be a day and a half, 2 days. So the toss could be very, very crucial. So important for Joe Root to win it. And if he does, all of a sudden pressure will be on India, because India can't afford to lose this test match. If they do, then Australia are in the World Test Championship final. So what, you know, if you're an England point of view, do you really want to potentially take on in the Ashes the best team in the world? Because if England beat India this week, they give Australia a chance to be the best team in the world for when the Ashes come around. Oh, what a dilemma that is for the England boys.
Let's talk about the pitch, and let's hear from Zach Crawley. I just want to say that all of those people who are saying it's got to be better, it's got to be, India is surely not going to prepare another Bunsen burner. I think that's naive. I think that they're not just unapologetic and unashamed about producing pictures like that. They're proud. They're proud of producing pictures like that. And earlier this week, Zach Crawley said that England were expecting more of the same.
Yeah, I think it will be a very similar pitch this week, and why wouldn't it be? They played very well on the last two pitches with the turns. It wasn't easy to score for sure, but it was the same for both sides, and they played very well, to be fair to them. So we had our chance. We batted first on it as well, and unfortunately we didn't play as well as we needed to.
England, I think, have made a conscious decision, probably before they even went there, not to comment about pitches, not to sound like they're whinging and complaining. And every team that goes to India in recent times has had exactly the same mindset, haven't they? Because, I think it's self-defeating as well. I mean, if they start to talk about unfit conditions and not being good for Test cricket and that kind of thing, if the players do, it'll have an adverse effect on themselves, apart from the way it looks and sounds to the rest of the world. But
you're also giving yourself an excuse and a way out,
right?
To justify your performance. When if your performance is not good enough, you can kick, scream, shout, say, this because of this, because of that, because of the other. Let's get this fair. Yes, the pitch wasn't a great surface, but there was also some abject batting, some poor shot selection and decision making. So from that point of view, I think England are right. And it is interesting. We've had 3 test matches so far, and the only comments have come out, the negative comments about the surface come out of this series so far have come from India about the first test match pitch, the surface on the pitch on the surface for the first test match. Virat Kohli wasn't very happy. He passed comment on it, but Joe Root has kept his powder dry, like he should do. And I think if he wants to have a comment, he can have a comment on the whole series, the series as a whole, when it's finished. And I think that would be the right thing to do at this minute in time. Not letting any excuses into the camp is the best way of doing things, and hopefully putting a few wrongs right. Because the wrongs that they did make, and they did make some fundamental mistakes from a batting point of view in that, especially in the first innings, when the surface was probably at its best for all of that 20 minutes. Then I think they'll try and put that right. And if they do that, it's like I said, bit of luck, win the toss. All of a sudden, it's a different game, and we've seen momentum shift so far in this series. An England toss win in a good first session completely changes the balance of the series.
You can question anything you like, of course, if you win, and India did win the third test match as well as the second. But after the third test match, there were some question marks coming from the Indian camp about the use of the pink ball and about the manufacture of the pink ball. And just to remind listeners who may not quite have got the difference, is there are 3 extra, I've read and been told, 3 extra layers of lacquer, basically varnish, that are applied to the pink ball in order to protect it and to keep it pink, because otherwise it turns brown and nobody can see it after about 40 overs, which meant that the ball stayed really hard and also quite slippery. That was basically, it was like a toffee apple.
Yeah, it had a coating on it. I remember I was talking to Mark Wood just before the test match, and in contact with Mark Wood just before the test match, and he said it was like one of them cheap balls you get from the store where you get a bat, 4 stumps and a set of bails. You get one of these cheap balls. He said it was like that. That's what it was like. And the varnish that was on it was to try and hold the ball together. And when you look back at the test match, it actually suited it wasn't not so much Axar Patel does spin the ball, but it helped the spinning ball, because what it did
skidded.
It skidded, and because it skidded, it brought DRS so much more into play. And once you've got DRS into play, and you've got the ball skidding, and then the odd one hits the seam, because another thing that Mark did say, and Ben Stokes said when we interviewed Ben beforehand, the seam was very much pronounced. All of a sudden, that is a recipe for the grip into the pitch. So it was just another added extra to make it more difficult to bat on.
I felt rather sorry for Axar Patel, only because he all of the headlines and all of the debate and discussion about conditions rather detracted from his 11 for 70.
Yeah, no.
It's like 11 for 70 in his second test match.
It's crazy. And I made the joke on the collective the other day when we were with Ashak, and he said, he played a short spell at Durham, and that's how he's learned how to bowl with the straight ball, because it's not that Durham's pitches don't turn, it's that cold as a spinner you can barely feel your fingers. So the last thing you want to do is try and work on trying to spin the ball. You're just trying to get it down the other end and bowl as quickly as you possibly can with 4 jumpers on. So I think that's where he's probably learned the art of bowling the straight ball, which was so effective for him.
I quite liked what Jeetan Patel said earlier this week, comparing facing Ashwin and Axar Patel to basically, he said, compared it to being like facing Broad and Anderson in England.
In England, yeah.
Playing against Ashwin, Axar, it's almost like playing Jimmy Anderson, Stuart Broad in England, where they get to do fantastic things. Well, they get to get the ball to talk almost. And so I think opposition teams would see it the same way, as just a fantastic learning opportunity. But also, how can we succeed when we're here?
Battle of survival, man? It's survival. And that's the thing for me. And the thing that disappointed me with England batting was not having a defence. That's what really got me going in a more critical way. I think there's only 5 out of the 20 wickets fell from England's point of view. I think only 5 of the 20 batted for more than 30 balls. That for me tells its own story again. I think you've got to earn the right to bat in India. You've got to earn the right to get in, earn the right to score runs, and then earn the right to cash in at the other end. That's what these great Indian players have done. They get the ball, they get in, they defend the ball solidly, they get the use of the pitch, they know, they understand when the ball turns, they understand when the ball goes straight on, working out to manipulation of the field, then the rotating the strike, then the fielders around the bat go quiet, then the fielders around the bat disappear one by one, then the gaps start to open up, then you can milk the field, and all of a sudden, that's how the art of batting in the subcontinent. England didn't even get past phase 1. Never mind getting anywhere else. So, absorbing the ball, getting everybody going quietly, and earning the right to be there after 30 balls and beyond was something that England have got to do better.
A lot of people will say, but England have been going to India for years and over half a century they've been going. Why does everyone have to learn the lessons over and over and over again? But there are, as in life, there are certain cricketing lessons that you just have to learn yourself.
You've actually got to go through it. You've actually physically got to experience it, and again, another one that came at in Ahmedabad. sample size in Chennai, well, we have 9,000 people in Chennai. We had 40,000, 50,000 on day one, 40,000 on day two. Somebody like Zach Crawley's not played international cricket in front of a crowd. Very, very few players have played in front of a crowd of 15,000, never mind 40,000 in a stadium like that. So that comes with the added pressure of playing in these sort of environments. And one, I heard Chris Silverwood, and he was spot on, and we did it. To be fair, we talked about it, TalkSport 2 last week, and said, look, the biggest thing that can come out of this third test match is the experience that these young players are going to have. The ex-Sibleys never played in the subcontinent before. Crawley, Pope, all these guys are going to get better for the experience, and hopefully they're going to learn. Next time they go, they'll be in a better position to do that. That's how Joe Root got him in the position he's in. And this had to be a D-Day moment to say, look, this is test match cricket in this country and the way it's played. So I don't think they'll play too many times on a surface like what they have done last week, but the atmosphere and the environment and the cauldron, boy, wait till the stadiums fill up, and this is what it's going to be like.
It's just beginning to sink in to me for the first time. As you said, he's never played international cricket in front of a crowd.
He wouldn't have.
So it's never mind a hostile crowd. Yeah. It's friendly fire or enemy fire.
Mm-hmm.
They were never experienced.
Never
played international cricket in front of.
Yeah, and you look at somewhere like Dom Bess, Jack Leach, Ollie Pope, that have played in front of probably their most vocal, I don't know, not hostile, but ferocious crowd that they've played in front of would probably be Cape Town. And if you think, what that friendly, it was more friendly than there was nobody in the Caribbean, if you remember right. There was very, very few people in the Caribbean. South Africa was busy, but it was more of it was more Barmy Army. It was more Barmy Army than locals. You think of Pretoria on Boxing Day. So even the lads that have played a few Test matches, that would have been tough going from an atmospherical point of view last week to sort of pressurise and get your head round.
Beats him straight away. Folks thinks he's got him. Root thinks he's got him. And the finger's gone up.
Root again. And he bowled him. Washington Sundar is beaten by a beauty. Joe Root is the man this morning. Down comes Akshar, drives. He's caught at short extra cover. Oh, Joe Root, what are you doing?
Here's Root. Oh, top edge sweep has gone up into the air. Does Joe Root have a fourth wicket? Underneath it is Zach Crawley who takes the catch.
Root to Jasprit Bumrah. Gets across, he stubs, it's hit him on the back leg and the finger has gone up. Umpire Chowdhury says that's it. Joe Root has picked up his fifth wicket. 5 for 8. Joe Root, 6.2 overs, 3 maidens, 5 for 8.
You're listening to the Cricket Collective here on TalkSport 2 and our preview of the fourth and final test between India and England. Don't forget, TalkSport 2 will be the place to hear live and exclusive ball-by-ball commentary of the action from Ahmedabad, and we'll be on air tomorrow morning from 3:45 a.m. Just before we chat to Mark Butcher, who will be up bright and early alongside the rest of us, it has occurred to me that nobody thought to say what a brilliant spin bowling coach Jeetan Patel is, having overnight turned Joe Root into a world-conquering off-spinner with his 5 for 8. He was recently confirmed, Jeetan, as England's full-time spin bowling coach, and he was chatting a little earlier this week with TalkSport's own Scott Taylor.
Hey, Jeets, you look at Jack and Dom here, and then you've got other guys like Mace and Amir Verdi, these sort of guys. How excited are you for the future of English spin bowling?
Oh, hugely excited. I mean, you also throw on Adil Rashid, Mo Ali, Matt Parkinson. Those guys are in this environment at the moment, but there's also guys back in England that aren't in this environment that have got exciting opportunities as well. So, for me, it's a huge role. There's a lot of people that have got opportunities to perform for England, and for me, it's been able to give them the tools, I suppose, and the opportunities where the opportunities arise to be able to succeed in those environments.
And we're seeing Joe work very hard on his spinning. There was pictures of him talking to you before the third test.
Yeah.
How would you rate him as an off spinner?
Oh, certainly one of 3 in any attack, really. I mean, if you take in 2 frontline spinners like a Leach and a Bess, you know that you have Root to then break that up. It's probably it's probably on Rooty himself to say, look, I can bowl and I can offer. The one thing he does do, which any captain does, I suppose, is give his players the opportunity to go first before it's his turn. But, you know, I think he's got a huge offering in that lineup because he gets the ball to arrive differently at a different pace and he gets to do different things. So in some ways, he's different to the other two.
Do you think he underbowls himself?
I just think he's very wary of, you know, having to bowl himself in front of anyone else. That's all. And look, being here has been an opportunity for him to see that. Playing in that last test match, taking Pfeiffer, I mean, that's pretty cool for him. But also going forward, I think it will give him that confidence to say, look, let's shake it up a bit. It's okay to take a pause in the game and then go again.
That's Jeetan Patel, England's new full-time, recently appointed spin bowling coach. On the line for the next few minutes with us is Mark Butcher. Butch, well, first of all, looking forward to the fourth test?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, why wouldn't you? We've been a little bit starved of cricket over the last 6 or 7 days for one reason or another. So, yeah, absolutely looking forward to it.
What did you make of the full-time appointments that England made on their coaching staff a couple of days ago?
Yeah, I mean, Jeetan is obviously a terrific addition. He's building up a real sort of rapport and relationship with Leach and Bess, and I think, you know, that sort of investment is something that has been sorely lacking in, you know, England's spin bowling stocks over the years. So that's terrific. He's widely respected. He's a very, very good bowler. He's a great communicator. And so yeah, that's a really welcome thing. And obviously Marcus Trescothick is, you know, sort of speaks for himself. He's been sort of earning his stripes at Somerset, looking after the second 11 and sort of moving through the ranks down there. And again, widely respected. I think he's had enough distance between his playing career and his coaching career for him to be able to come at it from the player's point of view anyway, with a lot more respect. You know, he's not somebody that's just literally stepped out of the dressing room and then, you know, poacher turned gamekeeper. He's somebody that the other players would have had, you know, the younger players in particular would have looked up to, and you know, who will certainly command that sort of respect in the dressing room. And also, you know, he was a bit of a forerunner for English batting and English cricket. In terms of the way that he played spin in particular, but also just, you know, the fearless nature of his stroke play in one-day internationals, in test matches. So, yeah, the two great appointments. You just hope that he can manage a couple of months on tour. You know, that's already come up in the conversation. But yeah, a couple of good appointments.
And Butch, having been, you know, our man on the ground, and for the first 2 test matches, I know you haven't been in Ahmedabad, but with all the talk about the pitch, and me and Manners are even still now having a disagreement on whether it was a good surface or not good surface. We've heard your playback from the end of the test match. I'm sure your opinion's the same. What are you expecting? Do you think the Indian Cricket Board or the groundsman will be worried that more negative talk, or will they not give 2 hoots and go, right, we are going to pick the best pitch, which is going to be spin friendly to take England on because that's our weakness?
Well, yeah, I mean, I honestly don't. I can't tell you. I do not know, because I still think that put it this way, India, before this series started, before a ball was bowled, were favourites to win this series, right? India being that they've only lost 3 test matches in a decade before the first test in Chennai at home, being that, you know, nearly all of their batsmen, in fact, all of their batsmen average 40 plus, some of them in the 50s, being that they have a fast bowling unit that's been able to win twice in Australia over the last 3 years, and a spin bowling lineup that is the envy of any team in the world. So, you know, before a ball was bowled, India favourites. The fact that they've sort of gone to playing on pitches that are starting on the last afternoon of day 4 to play against England still baffles me, to be honest with you, because if they do it again tomorrow and England bat a little bit better, say maybe make 200 first innings having won the toss, England have got a really good chance of beating a team that are better than them playing on surfaces like that. But that's their shout. You know, that's entirely up to them. My feeling is that they would potentially, given that they're 2-1 up, that they're in the World Test Championship final, that the series is in the bag, that they might look for something that is a little bit less risky to play on. But who knows? I have no idea. I mean, I could not have predicted that they would have played on a pitch that was so different from the first one in Chennai for the second test in Chennai. Because I've played in India, you've played in India, I've played in Sri Lanka, I've played all over the place, and I've never ever played on a deck like that in Chennai, and I've never ever played on a deck that did what the one in Ahmedabad did either, and that's playing against people like Kumble and Harbhajan, etc. So I have no idea, honestly, and I wish I was there to be able to get a peek underneath the blanket and see what they're providing for us.
Apparently, it looks at this stage exactly like the third Test match pitch, Butch. But I mean, there's the pitch is one thing. I mean, but both you and Michael Atherton both wrote, I thought, excellent articles in which you pointed out the role that DRS played in the third Test in particular, and also the weaknesses in particularly England's batsmen's techniques.
Well, yeah, there is that, Manners, but I will also point to the fact that 4 out of India's top 6 are averaging less than 35. One of them is Virat Kohli, averaging 34. Pujara is averaging 23. Gill, who's a youngster, is averaging 23. And Ajinkya Rahane is averaging 17. So, you know... This
is in home tests, right?
No, in this Test match series.
Oh, sorry.
In this series, the Indian batsmen, top order batsmen of Rohit aside, have not found it straightforward either. You know, and these are guys who have all average 40 and above in Test matches. So, you know, you can point, of course, again, I go back to the fact that India were favourites and have a you know, in England have only got one guy who averages in the 40s in Test matches, and that's Joe Root. Everybody else is 30s, right? So it's a mismatch anyway, let alone playing on surfaces that even the Indian batsmen are finding difficult. So, look, I mean, people seem to be sort of wanting to bend over backwards somehow to defend these surfaces. I find them indefensible, but that's my opinion, and lots of other people have got different ones.
In the side, Butch, does England's side more or less pick itself when you think Woakes has gone home, so they've got 16 men out there, you've got 2 fast bowlers in, or 3 fast bowlers in Wood, Stone and Archer, so you're probably looking at one of them going to play. Yeah, you have to really pick Dom Best, haven't you?
Yeah. I think it's pretty straightforward. I think Best plays for Broad.
Yeah.
And that's it, really. Again, you know, for the last Test match, I didn't think that bringing Johnny in was a great call, even though Rory Burns has struggled a bit. But I do think having played out there, that having 2 Test matches under your belt over there and getting some sort of an idea as to what's coming and how the bowlers are attacking you and the pitch is turning, etc., that would have given Burns perhaps a better chance than Bairstow of, you know, particularly given that they were going to bring Crawley in anyway. So you had 2 guys who've walked in cold, really, although Crawley has obviously been in India beforehand. And so I wouldn't have made both changes. But having made the change, Bairstow stays, the batting lineup stays the same, and you move out a seamer and replace him with a spinner, and that's pretty much it, I think. Okay,
so you would go with Johnny Bairstow again, even though you made a pair in the last Test?
Well, yeah, I mean, because why would you bring him in and then leave him out and bring the guy in who was in there already? I think the mistake has already been made. I think they already made the bad call. Don't compound it by then changing your mind. You know, just leave it as it is. You know, England might actually. I mean, there is an argument to say that because Axar is causing all the right-handers so many problems, it might not be a bad idea to bring in another left-hander. So get Burns back in. Leave out one of the right-handers, Johnny Bairstow, more than likely. Have Crawley go in at 3, although he enjoyed the fact that he was able to bat against the seamers, and why wouldn't you? And, you know, see how you get on that way. But to be honest with you, I think the difference that it will make one way or the other is probably not great. So whichever way England goes, fine. And can I just add this? Turning pitches, I have no issue with turning pitches. Can we please stop misrepresenting the difference between a pitch that turns and a pitch where the ball kicks up puffs of dust and explodes through the surface from day one? That is the essence of the difference between a turning surface and a surface that is so underprepared, that has seen so little water, that the ball just bursts through it from the moment that you start playing on it. And that is the difference. No issue with turning pitches whatsoever. Played on plenty of them. But pitches where you have no idea how the ball is going to react when it hits the surface are not prepared properly. And that's my final say on the matter.
Good on you, Butch. Well done.
I rest
Thank you.
My case.
Case rested, Butch.
Here's Axar Patel bowls. Johnny Bairstow, he's bowled in!
All the gear and no idea.
Oh dear, that's out.
Here's Ashwin again. Stokes comes forward, struck on the pad. Massive appeal for leg before. Up goes the finger. Here is Axar again. Another appeal for leg before wicket. Up goes the finger. Joe Root's been given again.
Thumb him! That was a crackerjack delivery.
Never mind, that's gone. Anderson goes for the reverse sweep and he's been given out. England's second innings is over. They've been dismissed for 81.
You're listening to the Cricket Collective here on TalkSport 2 with me, Neil Manthorpe, and former England fast bowler Steve Harmison, as we continue to look ahead and prepare in our build-up to the fourth and final Test match. There is a great deal at stake. There is still the series trophy, which England can retain with victory. India have to avoid defeat in order to make sure that they reach the final of the World Test Championship. So there is a lot at stake, and as I mentioned in the first section of the programme, I think all the debate about the pitch has just it's whetted the appetite to such an extent now that I mean, in the same way that people used to watch Formula One racing in the 1980s because they knew they'd get a crash on the first corner. there's that kind of macabre, slightly dark sort of humour that people are going to be looking at this now and thinking, I can't wait to see what happens with the pitch.
Yeah, if it wasn't the case, if it was a 4 o'clock in the morning start, I think everybody would be. It would just be unbelievable, yeah. But look, it's going to be fascinating to see what both sides do, because if we get a surface like we did previous, it'll be interesting to see what Mark Butcher was talking about, and that's why I agree with him. I don't think the surface was good enough for the Test matches, because the surface was being broken. Was it the red ball? Was it the pink ball? And that's what we're going to find out tomorrow morning. Because if we get a similar type of surface where the ball spins early but it doesn't break up, we can put it down to the hardness of the pink ball. The lacquer on the pink ball has really disturbed the surface, and that's what caused the issues in last week. So that's going to be intriguing. If they're going to have a similar sort of surface, what does India do? Do they, because Jasprit Bumrah's gone home, he's came out of the bubble for personal reasons, do they go with, because they just need a draw, do they go Hardik Pandya at 6, Pant at 7, play the 3 spinners and only play 1 seamer, because England's top order are very, very vulnerable against the spin? Do they open the bowling with Ashwin, then hit them with Axar, then hit them with Washington Sundar, and only really have Ishant as their seam bowling option because of England's top order's inability to play spin? It was there in Sri Lanka. It's there. It was there. It's been there so far at some points this summer. And playing for a draw, I don't think it's possible. Because
can any team play for a draw?
I don't think, not so much any team can play for a draw at this minute in time. You take Joe Root out of this series and Rohit Sharma, then, to be honest, all the batsmen on show haven't really sort of, got anything to write home about. So to bat for 5 sessions or 6 sessions to get enough runs on the board to make it potential like draw in the Test match, I don't think there's 10 batsmen or 12 batsmen in this lineup, in the 2 teams lineup, are good enough at this minute in time, or batting well enough at this minute in time to do that. So that tells me that we're going to be in for possibly a 4-day Test match, or just into the 5th day, and we're going to get a result.
Just for the benefit of our younger listeners, or those who are fairly new to the game, I just want to go back to a point you said that people might be shaking their heads thinking, what is Harmy talking about when you said that they might play 1 seamer? Now, history would tell you, just go back and look at Kapil Dev's record. He played over a dozen Test matches as the sole seamer. The sole seamer. Sunil Gavaskar has opened the batting in opened the bowling for India in Test matches, and his job was to come on and bowl 3 overs with the new ball, take a bit of the shine off it, get hit into the bleachers.
Well, I did that in Pakistan with Marcus Trescothick. I think it was me and Trez opened the ball in one of the Test matches and
you played 3 spinners.
And we played 3 spinners. We played Udall. Who was the other one? It wasn't Monty, he hadn't played by then. Giles would have been there. I can't remember who the other spinner was, but Mark Butcher did it. Mark Butcher opened the bowling. I think he got 2 or 3 for in. It might actually have been Ahmedabad. Ahmedabad or Nagpur. I can remember Butch, these little wily swingers, just rocking him out onto off.
Not
onto
unlike
off
Trez.
stump. Not too dissimilar to Trez. So England haven't got three. Well, England have got three spinners in their team, because we can't say one of them's a part-timer because he's just getting 5 for 8. So England's team, I think England's team picks itself.
Let's go for it now.
I just think it picks itself. I think they'll stick with the top.
You're
three.
leaving the top.
I think the top 3 will stay the same, unless Butch makes a good point there. Unless they want to try and get the left-hander Burns in, because Burns in that first innings of first test match, he must still be waking up in cold sweats after that reverse sweep, even now. But he looked quite comfortable until that happened. Obviously, since he's been left out, possibly change him for Sibley and say, right, Burns for Sibley to break the left-right hand combination. But I really don't see that happening, England doing that. So I think Crawley, Sibley and Bester will play as 1, 2 and 3. You've got your shoe-ins, which will be 4, 5 and 6, which will be the 4, 5 and 6 for the majority of this test match calendar year in Root, Stokes and Pope.
So that's interesting that you've got Pope as a shoe-in, because there has been some debate. I mean, he got really found out by Ashwin in both innings.
Yeah, it's more the experience for me of what Ollie Pope is getting, valuable expect.
And we all know how good he is.
I'm looking at Ollie Pope, and I'm putting a lot on his head and a lot on his future, and I'm investing a lot of it time, leeway and failure. I'm giving him a chance. I'm giving him a chance to fail, because I want him to see what he's made of, to potentially come back, because I think this kid's got what it takes to be an international test match cricketer. So
okay,
I think he has to play at 6. Folks, 7.
I want to hear your bowling attack.
You've got to play the 2 spinners. In my opinion, I think you have to. If we're going to play on a surface like this, which would be Bess and Leach, because you've got Crane, you've got Verdi, you've got Parkinson, but not for me. Not bringing anybody out into the bubble for playing. And then it comes down to, do you pick Anderson? Probably would. I would go with Jimmy's experience playing Jimmy, even though I would like to have. If I'm looking at the surface and thinking, well, what am I going to get? Jimmy gives me a bit of control, gives me some nous with a new ball. His ability, because of he's getting 600 test wickets and his brains and his know-how, Jimmy will find a way of getting wickets. We've seen that in the first test match.
He bowled one of the overs of the series.
He got one of the overs of the series in that in the second innings of that first test match. Didn't change the game, because I think England were going to win the game anyway. But that's what Anderson can do. So because of that, I'm picking Jimmy. And then Archer didn't do anything last week, other than field for bat for a little bit and field for a day for half a day. So he probably hasn't exerted himself. I'd probably go with Archer, as much as I'd want to go with Wood and Archer, because I'm thinking the seamers on this sort of surface is got to be impact. It's got to be they're going to have to get me something that. There's out nothing, because if the spin bowlers aren't working, I'm going to need an impact from a seamer point of view. I'd be tempted to go with Wood and Archer, but if I've got a fully fit Jimmy Anderson, his experience and his know-how and his wicket taking just supersedes that. So I'd probably not pick Mark Wood, because Jofra Archer was the one I'd gone for in the first place, and stick with Archer and Anderson as me two seamers.
It's basically one change then. Best for Broad.
It's one change. It's best. It is. It's best for Broad, and throw them back out there. That would be the thing I'd say to them. You've got a chance of creating something special. We draw 2-2. That would be a monumental result in this series if we draw 2-2. Mark Butcher's just told you. Up until this test match series, India have lost 3 test matches in a decade. In India, for us to win 2 here, 2 in Sri Lanka, and win 4 test matches and lose 2 in this winter, it would be a ridiculous achievement as for a young side. So all that negativity, put it to one side, go out there, give it everything we can for 5 days, and if we can manage to win this test match, this at the end of our careers, this will be talked about and some proud moments of it. And I think that's what England have got to hold hope on.
Root again, down the wicket goes Rohit Sharma, swings it high and wide over mid-wicket for 6 runs, and India have won this Test match by 10 wickets.
We just got to keep looking to get better. It was a tough week, but it's a week that shouldn't define us as a team. You know, we've got some fine players in the dressing room, some young guys that will have to learn quite quickly, and we've got to bounce back strong in this last game.
You're listening to the Cricket Collective here on TalkSport 2 and our preview of the fourth and final Test match between India and England. Don't forget, TalkSport 2 will be the place to hear live and exclusive ball-by-ball commentary of the action from Ahmedabad, and we'll be on air from 3:45 a.m. On the line from Delhi is Indian cricket writer and broadcaster Chetan Narula. Chet, are you expecting anything other than more of the same?
No, Neil. I think Ajinkya Rahane has come out and said that it's going to be a spin-friendly wicket. And, a lot of people can lie. But if Ajinkya Rahane says it's going to spin, then it is definitely going to spin. I don't think India will try and lose that chokehold over England in this fourth Test match, which is important for them.
Yeah, it is. Place in the World Test Championship at stake. India just need to avoid defeat. But I don't think avoiding defeat is on anybody's minds at the moment.
No, I think India would want to win the series 3-1, and certainly the pitches that have been made have kept that in mind. And I think there's been a lot of debate about the pitches, but it's more to neutralize the English spinners than to, say, neutralize the English batsmen, really. I mean, they made spin-friendly pitches, and let's see whose spinners are better. And as expected, India's spinners have come out on the top.
Now, you mentioned Ajinkya Rahane there. We're going to hear from him just now, because when I think of calm, cool and collected amongst Indian cricketers, I think of Ajinkya Rahane. But he was asked a couple of days ago about his own form, and particularly there's one stat that comes as a real shock, and that is that since the last time England were in India for a Test series, Ajinkya Rahane in that time at home has played 22 Test matches and averages just a shade over 30. So that it's interesting that so few questions have been asked about his place in the team. Anyway, so cool, calm, and collected Ajinkya Rahane. This is what he sounded like. This is what he sounds like briskly.
I was expecting this question. I mean, thankfully you asked. I think you need to check your facts right. My contribution for the team. Whenever the team needed runs, my runs are there. So you need to focus on your facts and then come up with the question. I'm a team man. Everyone knows that. And whenever team needs to perform in that particular situation, I have always done that. So I'm not too concerned about it. Yes, as a player, I always look to learn, look to grow as a cricketer, which is really important, and I'm looking to do that. Thank you.
Chetan, did he have a right to be a bit prickly?
I think so. I mean, there's a lot of unnecessary debate about Ajinkya Rahane and his contributions in the middle. Every batsman at times has ups and downs in their career, and Ajinkya Rahane is no different. He's had ups and downs. There was a time when he didn't score too many runs, but he's always been important to India's middle order. Yes, some may say that he has a deficiency against off spin, especially when he starts off the innings, and that's the time when he can be picked off easily by spinners, especially when playing in India. But his record is impeccable. I mean, every series he's had half centuries or centuries in there. He's had that sort of record. If he's not getting hundreds, he's at least getting you half centuries and vital half centuries, which he has done in this series as well. I mean, the half century he scored in the second Test was very vital. So you don't always need to reach three figures, do you, Neil? I mean, that's the kind of if that's the kind of criticism, I think that's not a very valid criticism of Ajinkya Rahane.
And it's not the only one, Chetan. When you look at the batting lineup, me and Manas have been talking for the last sort of 50 minutes here, thinking what sort of surface and India just need a draw to get to the Test Championship, But on both sides, both batting units aren't firing on all cylinders. You look at since January, I think 2020, Pujara's averaging 28, Rahane 27, Kohli 26. There's only really Sharma and Shubman Gill, who's in his infancy of his career, and Sharma, got 500 odd runs in in no time at all. But both sides are struggling to really sort of hit form. So a draw, you would think, because it's not going to rain in India, a draw will be out of the question.
Oh yeah, I think draw is absolutely out of the question. I think we will have another result-oriented wicket. This might actually take longer because a lot of people talked about the pink ball's efficacy in the third Test match.
I'm not sure it can take any shorter, to be honest, Cheaton.
Yeah, it can't be any shorter, can it? So yeah, I think the red ball will factor in, and without the dew and the lights and everything, I think it'll be again red ball Test cricket, 3-4 days or 5 days. I don't know. It depends on what sort of pitch and what sort of batting. I think we need to see better batting in this Test match as well. And another point that I want to put on air, because Ajinkya Rahane's batting stats have been brought up. Virat Kohli hasn't scored 100 in a while now. It's been a while since he scored a Test 100 or an 100 in any format, to be honest, ODIs or T20s for that matter. So these sort of questions keep on coming every now and then. In terms of India's batting, there's always criticism and everything. But yes, one of the key factors that, as Neil also pointed out, it's just been Rohit Sharma who scored some runs in the top order. Even Cheteshwar Pujara hasn't managed to score too many runs. So for their part, or for their credit, England have managed to keep the Indian batsmen quiet. It's the Indian spinners that they haven't been able to. So I think if they can find a solution for that, maybe this might be a different result.
And there's been a lot of talk over here about negativity about pitches and stuff like that. What's it been chattering over in India?
Well, it's been divided, to be honest. I think a lot of fans have also said that, okay, Test matches should not be ending in 2 days. Yuvraj Singh tweeted the same. I think a lot of people have also thought the same. I also thought the same for a degree, that, okay, maybe 2 days was too quick. But again, there are so many factors that's been involved. I mean, I think the biggest factor has been the pink ball, which we haven't talked about enough. I think the extra pace that the likes of Akshar Patel found, or even Jack Leach for that matter, the extra pace that they found, or even Joe Root, who bowls part-time off spin, but suddenly he found that speed and the line and length to bowl to batsmen, even if lower order batsmen. So I think the pink ball was the bigger factor. There's a school of thought that if the third Test had been played with the red ball in day conditions, it would have ended on day 3 or day 4. So, yes, it was a short Test match. Yes, the pitches have been spin-friendly. But again, home advantage is also something that is of paramount interest. I mean, Steve, you'll be there when India tour England this summer. Do you expect pace-friendly wickets, green tops? I mean, that is an open question, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, but I think a lot of 5 county chief executives might have something to do with their beer sales on day 4 and day 5 after a global pandemic's hit their coffers very, very hard. Might come into conversation with their groundsman on what sort of surface Joe Root and his men are either ask for or get. So it's going to be, that'll be interesting. It's another side story. Where do you see this India side? Do you think they'll obviously Bumrah comes out because of obviously he's left the group for personal reasons. Yeah. I've just said to Neil, would India potentially play an extra batter and push everybody down one and only play Ishant Sharma because of how poorly England have played spin, because they've got the 3 spinners?
It's a crucial factor, yes. I think that is a possibility, but they already had 3 spinners in the previous Test match. I mean, if you play 4 spinners, that might be pushing it. I mean, it would be similar to what they did in 2012 in the last Test at Nagpur, which they needed to win, but ended up drawing. So I think they might be tempted to play an extra spinner or an extra batsman for that matter. But who are you going to play really? So I think an extra pacer just simply slots in, because again, it's the red ball, and if it's an abrasive surface, then reverse swing might come into picture. But again, it will just depend on how long England batsmen bat, how long they can counter the Indian spinners for a reverse spin to, in fact, become a part of the conversation, really. So, from what I gather, I think it'll be an extra pacer. It'll be either Umesh Yadav or Mohammad Siraj coming in to replace Jasprit Bumrah.
Hardik Pandya, I was thinking, given that he's only going to bowl 4 overs before the spinners come in and bowl the rest of the innings. Anyway, actually, on the last question, though, Chetan, if I may, for most of my cricket broadcasting and writing career in the last 30 years, India have not done themselves justice. They've been inconsistent and they've underperformed, and they've had star players but very little cover. now they are in their rightful place, I think. I mean, has Indian cricket ever been stronger? Has there ever been more depth? Has there? Do you feel that they're finally now dominating world cricket on the field as well as off it?
I think it's been a short duration to come out with that sort of a statement. I think they need to do it for a longer consideration of time. Maybe if we can have this conversation over the next 2 years, that'll be a sufficient amount of time, because they would have toured England, they would have toured South Africa. I mean, you saw the South Africa series last time around 2018. India should have won there, or even England for that matter. So we have those two overseas series. We will have Australia coming back home again in 2022. There are T20 World Cups. Look, what this has done, what this period has done, what this tough period of pandemic has done is it has shown world cricket that yes, there is a lot of depth. I mean, you go to Australia and you win with your third string bowling lineup or a third string 11. That means you have enough quality cricketers available who can compete for the title of the best cricketers around. So it just needs to be done regularly and repeatedly. I think the blueprint is there for world domination, if you can say so. But to achieve it, to talk about it and to achieve it are two different things. And let's not forget that Indian cricketers play a lot more cricket than anybody else. I mean, these cricketers will have no rest. They'll have ODIs and T20s, which for the benefit of our listeners is available on TalkSport too. But then they'll also have the IPL, and then they'll straight away jump back into international cricket. So the burnout factor is a question mark. But then again, like I said, it's about longevity as well to achieve these targets.
Chetan, always great to chat. Thanks for your time once again. Hey, thank you.